Hello student, this is the video tutorial for the first assignment on your course checklist, which is called Creating and Formatting a Text Box. If you haven't already, go ahead and grab your blue Graphics Technology workbook and turn to page 1. When you turn to page 1, at the top it should say Create and Format a Text Box, followed by some instructions. Before we begin, of course, we need to open up Microsoft Publisher before any project, so to do that, we just go ahead and hover our mouse over the publisher icon and double click with the left mouse key twice. In this case, we just need a blank 8.5 by 11 to go ahead and get started. And if we refer back to the instructions on your workbook, it says create a document with 4 pages. Add extra pages by clicking on Insert, Page, Insert Page. So if we come into Microsoft Publisher, we'll notice in the top left-hand corner the Insert menu, and you'll see the page icon over here. Now notice that there's actually 2 buttons in one. If we were to just click on the page icon on the top, it would just insert a blank page, just like so. This is fine if you only need to insert 2 or 3 pages, but imagine if you were creating a 100-page long document, doing that 99 times would get kind of tiring. So they created a menu right underneath it with this arrow that we're going to go ahead and click on, and we're going to choose Insert Page ... which is going to present us with some more options that we see here. If you refer back to your instructions, it says change the number of new pages to 3, then click OK. We want to end up with a total of 4 pages, and we already have one, so we just need to add 3 more pages. So with the number 1 already highlighted in blue, we can just type the number 3 on our keyboard and then click OK. Before I click OK, you do have the option to tell it to insert pages before the page that you're on or after. In this case, it doesn't matter because they're all going to be blank. And you can tell it to duplicate all the objects on a page or just to insert blank pages. In our case, we're just going to insert blank pages and press OK. You'll notice on the left-hand side, it automatically inserted 3 more pages, so we now have a total of 4 pages. Now if we move on to instruction number 1, it says on page number 1, so let's make sure we're on page number 1 by clicking on number 1, and it's highlighted in blue, and down here it also says page 1 of 4. It says on page 1, create at least 6 text boxes, each with a different color. So how do we create a text box in the first place? Well, if we go on to page 2 in your workbook, it'll show you how to create a text box. You can read the instructions there, or you can simply watch this video. There's also a separate video of how to draw a text box. Because this question gets asked so many times, I just went ahead and made a separate video, really short, on how to create a text box. Well, in order to insert anything into our document, we always want to come to our Insert tab. And under the Insert tab, in the Text section, you'll see the Draw Text Box button. Before I click on that, I also want to note that you can also go to the Home tab, and under the Objects button, there's Draw Text Box. You'll notice they're the exact same button, and you can click on either one. For good practice, I always suggest students go to the Insert tab because if you want to put anything into your document, you're going to have to go to the Insert tab for the majority of items. So if we click on Draw Text Box, you'll notice nothing's really happened except for our mouse has now changed to the plus symbol. So to create a text box, just like it says, we're going to actually draw the text box. You're going to hold down your left mouse button and you're going to keep holding it until you're happy with the size of the box. You can make it tall and skinny or wide and short, however you want, or you can try and make it a nice square, and then you release. And you'll notice it creates a text box with these markers for the corners and a cursor to begin typing. Go ahead and pause the video here and practice this on your own. Come back when you're ready. You can always rewind and watch this again. Okay, now that you're back to the video, we're going to show you how to manipulate these boxes. If you hover your mouse over the corner here, you can grab the box, and I'm sorry, I said the corner, but if you hover your mouse over any of the lines, you can grab the box and move it anywhere you wish. But take note that if I'm clicking in here, my mouse is actually going to just click in the middle so I can start typing some more. I have to hover ever so carefully over the edge, the line on the edge, and see how my mouse changes to 4 black arrows. And that's showing me that I can move it up, down, left, or right. Only when the mouse looks like that can I actually grab it and begin moving it. Now you'll notice there's also these white handles on the corners and in the middle of each line. Each one of those, you'll notice when I hover my mouse over them, it changes from the 4 black arrows to 2 white arrows. And it's showing me if I were to grab that handle, I can size the box that direction. Again, if I go down in the lower right corner, I can now drag this corner, or if I went to the one on the right hand side, I can now drag it to be skinnier or wider. Go ahead and pause the video here and practice this on your own, and come back and continue when you're ready. Okay, now that we're back, I want to go on to the next set of instructions on page 3, which is how to rotate a text box. So in order to rotate a text box, you'll notice out of the top is a handle, and as I hover my mouse over it, my arrow now turns into a rotating arrow. So I simply hold my mouse down on it, and I can now grab that box and rotate it any direction I wish. Go ahead and pause the video here and try it on your own in Microsoft Publisher, and come back and continue. Okay, welcome back. Now that you're back, I want to take a moment and show you a common problem that a lot of students run into, and that is when they click outside of the text box to move on to something else, they think their text box has disappeared. And it's especially bad if there was no type in it. It seems like the box is completely gone. However, if it is still there, if we were to hover over into the area and click on it, we can select it again. But to make this problem go away, one of the suggestions I'll make is for you to go up to your View tab and turn on your boundaries. If you notice, when we turn on our boundaries, it now shows that box no matter what. So as I insert more boxes, I'll see them, and I can always select them again much easier. If I go up to the view and I turn off my boundaries, they'll disappear and it seems like they're gone from the page, but they're not. They're still there. Okay, so go ahead to your View tab and turn on boundaries if it's not already checked, and come back to this video. Okay, so now we're going to be switching back and forth between the pages in your workbook a little bit. If we go back to page 1, the instructions on number 1 says, on page 1, create at least 6 text boxes, each with a different fill color. So the first step I'm going to recommend is go ahead and insert 6 text boxes. I already have 2 on my page, so I just need 4 more. So I'm going to go to the Insert tab, draw a text box, and draw another text box. Again, go on Insert, draw a text box, and draw another text box. Repeat this step until you have at least 6 text boxes. You can do more, but the minimum requirement is at least 6. Go ahead and pause the video and come back after you've completed making 6 text boxes. Rewind if you need to see this again. Okay, now that you're back and you've made 6 text boxes, we're going to flip back over to page 4 in your workbook to where it says how to add color to a text box. You'll see some instructions there, but go ahead and follow along with this video as well. So, the first thing we want to do is select the text box that we want to color. You'll notice before the text box is selected, there are no extra menu icons right here. But once I click here, you'll see there's 2 different format tabs that appear. One says Drawing Tools Format and one says Text Box Tools Format. In this case, we want to change the drawing, which is the shape itself, the square or the rectangle in this case, and we want to go ahead and give it a fill color. You'll see in your workbook on page 4 that it points an arrow to the Shape Fill, and in this case, we can click on the Shape Fill drop-down menu, and we can choose whatever color we want. I'm going to show you how you can simply click on this again and just change the color. Now perhaps you don't like any of these preset colors. Well, guess what? There's a menu for more fill colors that you can click on, and you can choose any color from this rainbow. There's also more ways to choose colors from any one of these menus. And then you click OK, and there you go. Now one thing I want to point out while we're here is on the shape fill, there's also a little paint bucket next to it that shows the color you most recently used. This is really useful because now when you click on another icon, another box, you want to fill it with the same color, you can just simply click on that color and it'll color it the same. But in this case, I want you to go ahead and change every box to a different color. So take a moment and pause this video and go change the color of all 6 of your boxes and come back to this video. Okay, now that you're back, if we flip back to page 1, instruction number 2 says on page 2, create at least 6 text boxes, each with a different gradient effect and color. So if we go to page 2, in order to go to page 2, we go on the left-hand side where our page thumbnails are and we click on page 2. Again, you should be a pro at this by now, but go ahead and create 6 text boxes on your page, any size that you want. You can pause this video if you need, or you can follow along with me and then come back when you're ready. So I'm going to go ahead and make 6 text boxes. You do not have to make them look exactly like mine. And 6. Okay, now if you're ready to proceed, in your workbook, turn over to page 5 and it's going to show you how to add a gradient effect. So adding a gradient is very similar to adding a color, it just requires one extra step. So I'm going to start at the top, and again I'm going to click on my drawing tools format because I want to change the color of the drawing, not the text inside of the box. So we're going to click on that. We're going to go ahead and choose a color. In this case, I'll choose this nice burgundy color. Now in order to give it a gradient effect, we're going to go back to our shape fill menu one more time, and we're going to come down to gradient, and you're going to choose which gradient you want. Now if you'll notice, all the gradients here are fading from blue to white, and these are fading from blue to black. But your drawing is in this dark burgundy color. Don't worry, this is just showing you how it will fade from your color to white. So I'm going to choose where it's going to fade from my color on the top down to white on the bottom, and simply click that. If I want to change the direction, I can simply come back to gradient and make it go from left to right, for example. Proceed to do this with all 6. Again, first give it a color. This time I'll choose green. Go to my gradient, and this time I'm going to choose, let's choose one of the ones that fades to black. So it's going to go from our color to black on the bottom. These create some really nice effects. So take a moment, pause the video, and go ahead and color all 6 of your boxes and give them a gradient, and come back when you're ready. Two more. Let's give this one a blue color. Shape fill, gradient. We're going to fade from the corner. We're going to go to shape fill. Let's make this one a nice red color and a gradient here. Okay. Now, what I want to show you before moving on, for those of you that are a little more advanced or like to just experiment with more advanced features, this is not in the workbook, this is a video-only feature. If you ever want to make your own custom gradient where it fades to various colors throughout the gradient, you can always go to Shape Fill, Gradient, and click on More Gradients. Here you'll notice it has the color that it begins with and the color that it ends with. If you want to add another color, you can just simply click in the middle and create, let's say, a red stopper, and then here we'll put a blue stopper just so we can kind of see. Let's try one more here, let's put a yellow. So just as you see, it's going to go from purple to yellow to red to blue to this very, very light version of the burgundy or purple. You can drag them along to any position you wish and then click OK, and you'll notice that gradient looks just like what you created. If we want to change the orientation of it, we can make it go up and down. gradient, and we can make it diagonal. Okay? Great. Now, if we go back to page 1, we'll see instruction number 3 says, on page 3, create at least 6 text boxes, each with a different texture. So, first we need to go to page 3 by clicking on the page 3 thumbnail on the left-hand side. And we're going to repeat the process by creating 6 text boxes. So I'm going to do that quickly. Pause the video if you need and come back. I'm actually going to use a little bit of a shortcut where I hold the control key and I can just drag the boxes down and it will make copies automatically. Okay, so now if we go over to page 6, it's going to show you how to add textures to our boxes. Textures are really great if we want to maybe make a flyer for a pool company or a pool cleaning company, and we want to have maybe a background of water droplets. We can go ahead and do that. So let's select our first box, and this time we're still going to be under shape fill, but instead of choosing a color or a gradient, we're going to choose a texture. So in this case, like I mentioned, the water droplets is this one right here, and you'll see it'll fill our box no matter what size with this water droplet texture or pattern. Go ahead and do this to all 6 boxes. Pause the video if you need to and come back. I'm going to choose the brown paper bag. Let's choose, how about some marbled effect? Let's choose some wood grain. You can choose whatever ones you want. I'm going to choose some sand. And lastly, let's see, how about this cross-hatching pattern here? Okay, good job. Now, we're going to go back to page 1, which says on page 4, we're going to create 6 text boxes, each with a different outline. Use different weights, dashes, patterns, and be sure to include border art. So we go to page 4. Once again, we're going to insert 6 text boxes. A nice shortcut is if we hold the control key and we just drag our first box, we can just simply make copies of the same box. Now that I have my 6 text boxes, I'm going to go back to page 7 in my workbook, and it's going to show you the different instructions on how to create outlines. So go ahead and follow along with this video, pause at any time, but with the first one, go back to the same format, drawing tools format. This time, instead of the shape fill, we want to change the outline. So under the outline, we can choose any color we wish. I'll choose a red border. And if I click away, you'll notice it now has a red border. I think that's a little bit too thin, so I'm going to click on my shape outline, and I'm going to help it gain some weight by choosing weight, and let's just try a thicker line, like 3 points thickness. Or maybe 6. There we go. That looks a little thicker. Go on to our next line, and this time I'll make it blue. Once again, I'll give it some weight so it's easy for you guys to see on the screen. And this time, instead of leaving it a solid line, I want you guys to try doing dashes. This is really great for a coupon, for example. As you go down the list, you'll see on the instructions, it says use different weights, dashes, patterns, and border art. So with this next one, I'm going to go ahead and give it a shape outline. Let's choose this burgundy color. I'm going to help thicken it up a little bit. And this time, we're going to choose a pattern for the border. And we can do something like these cross hatches. And you'll see it creates a really cool effect, great for a nice picture frame. If we make it even thicker, you'll be able to see it even better. Okay, and then we want to do some border art. So with this one, we click on Shape Outline. My apologies, for border art, we actually want to right-click on the text box, and we want to click on Format Text Box. So before I do that again, I'm going to show you one more time. We're going to hover over the border of the box, right-click with your mouse button, and go down with your left mouse button and click on Format Text Box. And it's going to pull up this menu, which actually gives us a lot more choices. We can change the color from here if we wanted to. We can change the thickness. We can change it to really any thickness we want. We can go to 4.5 points, for example. Or we can go all the way up to 20 points thick. But in this case, I want to select some border art. And this is great if you want to put some balloons around the border of a birthday flyer, for example. So we click on border art. You'll notice balloons are here. You can click down through it and see all sorts of options. Perhaps if you're making something for a birthday party or for Halloween, you can choose the appropriate border art, maybe Christmas. But I'm going to go back up to the balloons for a nice little birthday party border and click OK and click OK. And you'll notice it added balloons to the border. If those balloons aren't big enough for you, simply right-click again, Format Text Box, and make the width even thicker. So I'll make it 40, and you'll see how large it is now. Proceed to apply whatever effects you want to the last two boxes, as long as they are different types of outlines and colors. So in this case, I'll choose a green border. You know, I think I'd rather have it to be 5 point, so I'm going to choose more lines, and right here I want to do 5 point. You will need this feature on a future lesson. Make it green, and then I'll go ahead and I'll make it a different type of dash with some little circles and one more box. So go ahead and do this, pause the video if you need, and come back as necessary. Okay. The last instruction, number 5, says be sure to rotate some boxes at an angle to show you understand rotation. So just as it says, I just want to see you rotate at least one box on some of the pages just to show me you know how to rotate a box. This will be really useful on future projects. So, great job. Again, if you need to rewind or rewatch this video at any time, you can also raise your hand and I'll be happy to come over and help you. But this is what a successful finished project should look like. You have 4 pages, each with 6 different boxes with different fill colors, different gradients, different textures, and different lines and borders.